Anyway, it's nice to see you all, some who are clients, some who are partners, and some who we've just met. I'm here this week with Matt Hickman, who's one of our senior leaders of business development. Stand up and turn around so people see you. Matt's been here many years and has been with the company for 15 years or so he knows a lot about what we do. Who was at, let's say, Key Largo or Kiowa? Raise your hand if you were at those. Well, you might find this a little boring because it's the same presentation I gave then. No, I'm just kidding, because I really did want to make it relevant, although nobody would have noticed, perhaps. So I looked at the agenda, and what we're going to do in 15 minutes is go through actually 5 different case studies for you to hopefully provide something that you'll find of value. One thing I found in going to these EIS summits is that there is a great common core around email interest. But after that, there's a lot of variety in terms of the products people sell, the services that they sell, big teams, small teams, industries. So we're going to go through a number of different examples to touch on that. So personalizing, engaging, and relevant, and yields performance results. So we're going to talk a little bit about those types of things. I'm going to go through, it says on the piece of paper 2 brands, but we decided to make it 4, because again, rather expose you to more things rather than fewer, so hopefully you'll find some things that are relevant. We're going to begin with Spartan. Anybody here who's done a Spartan race? Raise your hand. Good, someone in the back, anybody else? Tough Mudders, anywhere? Any obstacle course racers? So that's what Spartan is. Then we'll go through Marriott Rewards, West Marine, and Honeywell. Before I do that, those of you who know our company or don't know it, Yes Marketing is a relatively new name. We rebranded ourselves just a month or so ago. We do 3 things for our clients in terms of outcomes we're trying to achieve. New customers, acquisition, focus a lot on customer marketing, which is a big focus on this conference, and more on loyalty these days. We have new leadership of the company, and we do more in that area. So it's in those 3 different dimensions, and we have 3 types of things we help folks with. Services, which I represent. I lead our analytics, strategy, and creative resources. Technology, we have our own tool. Many of you are familiar with YesMail, which is an email-focused but multi-channel platform. But we also work with Adobe and have other partnerships that we work with. And then data. We do a lot with data. And all of those things are important, really. In listening to some of the cases yesterday, and you probably all know, one of the challenges with being great at email marketing is that all of those things are irrelevant, and sometimes it's hard to pull those things together. So I think in these cases, hopefully you'll see some examples of that, and maybe some specific tips that will be helpful. So Spartan Race, it's a global leader in obstacle course racing. It's an industry that's existed for about 10 years, relatively small company. In the email team is 3 or 4 people or so. We got involved with them about 1.5 years ago, and they wanted to do, their major objectives were they had a pretty good sized audience that they could mail, but only about 1/3 of those people had ever raced. It's a way of life brand is what they call it. It's about mind, it's about body and fitness, and it's about eating, so eating well. So one of the things that they wanted our help with was to develop a newsletter. And we created a strategy for this, and we did the creative for it, and then they use our platform too. But what I wanted to show you was kind of how we did it. Yesterday we were talking about segmentation and personas and those types of things. And one of the things I always challenge our team, and we talk to clients a lot about, is if you do personas or you do segments, how does that relate to the other thing we really want to have, which is one-to-one communications, which makes things really relevant. So this is an outline of based on some strategy work we did and understanding their goals and objectives, how we broke up their template. So we designed a template for them, and then we went through each content block and identified where the content was coming from. Was it something global, just a message for everybody who got an email? Or was it personalized individually, which it could be something as simple as a name, or by gender, or was it something that was segmented? If it was segmented, what was it segmented by? And one of the key things that is important for relevance in this industry is level of fitness or level of interest, because it goes all the way. The participants in these races are all the way from, like, one of the best racers in the world who does this is a former Army Ranger. So you can just imagine somebody who's fit, stays fit, highly focused on it. The top women are maybe former gymnasts, but just the most outstanding athletes you can imagine. But also, and I've done a few races, but there are people who you'd be very surprised to see out there, who just have the will to do it. So the span is from everybody who, it's just remarkable that they're engaging in it, to it's remarkable how fit they are. So one of the first things that matters is how intense are they about it? What are they trying to get out of it? So a lot of the segmentation comes into that, which we have noted here by fitness level, which can be either expressed or we can gain that by seeing what kind of races they enter and actually how they perform too. But we also do personalization by geography because it's a global brand, by race type, and also by race experience. The reason I'm holding this hat is that they have 3 different races, race distance. Basically, the red is kind of the introductory race, it's about 4 miles, the blue is 8 miles, and the green is 13 miles, which I actually kind of earned this hat. I had to buy it. They gave me something else at the finish line when I did all 3 this year. But then you become a member of the trifecta tribe, which is one of the good marketing techniques they have to get people to do more of those. So that's the kind of segmentation that comes in there is, you know, the kinds of things, how many races have you done this year? Have you done 1 or 2 of the 3? And then how are you doing either if you just want to do the shorter races or the longer races? Anyway, a lot of the personalization goes in there. The other things that we did too was to identify things like personalization in terms of race results. How'd you do? What was your last race? How did you do in your individually? How'd you do in your age group, which is important to me? Thankfully, fewer competitors in my age group, so it's easier to do well. But there's a lot of different personalization. So just wanted to show this, and many of you may have done it, but just mapping out across all the content blocks at the template level. It resulted in a newsletter that looked like this. It's pretty long, so we had to cut it, obviously. And I'm not showing you the dynamic version of it, but it began, the first one of these came out in August this year. Proud to announce that MediaPost in the OMA Awards on October 1st, we won for Best Newsletter, and they won, which was terrific. But this is just what it looked like. So this was actually video. This is of Rhea Colbel, who's one of the top female athletes in the world. That was embedded video. And it just gives you an idea of how we brought this to life. So a lot of different content. The other thing I just wanted to mention on this example is each of those content blocks, we have kind of a tactic plan that we can use different formats within each content category. So 1 month it may be a contest about it. It could be a photograph. The next, it could be a video. It could be an infographic. But to keep it engaging, and we think the data is relevant to this thing. But, so it's a mix of personalization, engagement, and relevance. So that's Spartan. Marriott Rewards, we've been working with them about 6 years or so. Everybody's probably familiar with it. We do a monthly newsletter for them. The degree of personalization in this is pretty extreme. It's a pretty sophisticated company. But there is individual data-driven attributes about member status, scorecards of their activity, upcoming trips. There's a bunch of modeled attributes that are used for different content. And then there's a bunch of AI and real-time things about, hey, they have a promotion going on, which is the best one for this person at that time? What's the getaway that's most relevant for them? So a lot of personalization built into it. The way it comes through in their newsletter is identified here. So personalized, you know, from the top, individualized data in the middle. There's, in the middle column, you'll see things, you know, whether or not somebody has a credit card or not will determine the content, whether they've clicked on something, whether a propensity model says they're likely to rent a car or go to a place, how much usage they have. So a lot of modeling and personalization within this. So at the individual level, not, and some at the segment level. But that's what we've done with Marriott. Coincidentally, the Email Insider Daily newsletter, which you have in front of me, talks about the hotel industry today and mentions Marriott in there. It's a very big program. I think there are about 80 million members in it. So the next, well, and the last thing I mentioned is in terms of the engaging element too, one thing we do is a lot of sticky content. Those of you who've been to EISs, you'll know that in this time block we have that we sponsor and have for many years, our creative director often comes to Deer Valley. I don't know how I got the podium this time, but it's something that we believe in to maintain engagement. Certainly heard a lot about it, I thought in the Chick-fil-A example yesterday specifically, but often we bring in content that is non-promotional that just improves engagement, and we've done that a lot. I'll show you another example here quickly. West Marine, so now getting to retail. So in terms of audience size, this is somewhere in the middle. One thing, we talked about Welcome Series yesterday. One thing we do there is to get people to express an intent or their major category of interests. And this is where our data comes into, because knowing where somebody lives gives us some hints if they haven't expressed to us what they're interested in, whether they live on a coast or whether they live inland, whether they live north or south, what their interests may be. But we personalize the Welcome Series in a few different ways. We have generalized hero images by segments. which come through if we know somebody is a non-boat owner. That's the default. But if we have information about them in our welcome stream, we can tailor that. So if they've clicked on something, or if they bought something before and the welcome stream is after the purchase, we can tailor it. So if somebody's a sailboat enthusiast, they're going to get copy and imagery on it. If somebody's a powerboat owner, something similar. So these are relatively simple things, but we were talking about welcome series yesterday and how to make it personalized and relevant in the very first couple of touches. And this is an example of something that West Marine has done. The other thing we've done with West Marine, just want to share with you, is they have a loyalty program. Many retailers do, but what we've done is created a content block that's pre-coded in different formats, and that's what you can see on the left side. And it gives us the ability, using a template system, to embed those in many different emails much more easily. And what that allows us to do is even if we don't have any other kind of information about someone, it allows us the option to very easily have individual relevance in it, because we can suppress that content block if somebody's not had any activity. We do that dynamically, but if they have some, people often like to see it. And we have some interesting ways to do it and some animation in it to show the level and status that people are at. So it's just a way to make it engaging as well as relevant too on the retail side. The last of our major case studies I just wanted to mention is Honeywell. So completely different kind of organization, Internet of Things. They actually sell a limited amount directly, but they do some. So they're trying to drive to retail or to drive people to contractors. But people have heard about Nest and others. Honeywell makes a lot of these products that do many things that are part of a connected home. So what we did with them, and I'll show you in a minute, is we populated data based on individual thermostat or thermostats within the home, use local weather data to make it relevant to them. And this is what it looked like in execution. It's a little hard to see, but I'll just go summarize it for you quickly. In the upper left content block, it shows how your heating has compared from 1 month to the next. This is October, so it's kind of a shoulder season where things are changing a little bit. And then below we show, what you can't see is that they have an east, in this example, there's an east thermostat and a west thermostat in the home. And it shows what's happened in terms of how many heating or cooling hours were used for that thermostat at different times of the month. And also related to it is what the temperature was outside during this time period. So it gives people something that's very relevant to them, which shows them, hey, here's what's going on in your home, here's what we're seeing. It's the kind of thing that just kind of builds that engagement, and people might otherwise know, and many people don't know what kind of thermostat they have in their home, but it just builds that kind of level of engagement and interest with them. And the last thing is, I mentioned that they sell a lot through third-party partners, or they're driving traffic to retail or to contractors. So there's a content block in there to help people get more information if they need support of a local contractor or somebody to help them. So those are the four major cases. I had to mention two others. I think it was mentioned briefly, but this is the first year there have been EIS email awards. And this doesn't have a lot of personalized data in it, but it's relevant and engaging. So we were happy to win this the other day for content marketing. In March, there was a blue moon, meets 2 full moons. And Olive Garden did a promotion with Blue Moon to send out this email. So we sent it out the Blue Moon date, the 31st of March, and we found it to be really engaging and relevant. And it's difficult. They have quite a large file. It's in the tens of millions. So to maintain engagement, as was indicated in the Chick-fil-A brand, is important. And this is the kind of thing that achieves that. So sometimes you just want to have fun with it. Kind of a non-promotional email, although there was an opportunity to get a free glass, but there's just a lot of information on the right side about oranges and about blue moons, and just something to, not individually relevant, but relevant to the brand. And we did another one for them, and we're happy to win at the EIS Awards Sunday night, 36 hours ago, which we did for Olive Garden also. This is not relevant. It's not personalized in any way other than maybe the subject line had somebody's name in it. But what it is engaging. So I just wanted to share this with you, just to take some pride in the work we've done and just give you some examples of something that's engaging. Now I am done, but want to remind you of one last thing. We developed a little lookbook that's available on our website. If you're interested in personalization cases that we've done, and we've also pulled in many from other brands that we did not participate in, but it's available at the yesmarketing.com/thoughtleadership. So that's available for you at any time. So thanks for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you.